Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Good morning, everybody! Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Live, woodwardsports.com. As always, it's a beautiful Friday morning. Adham, Beydoun, Jeff, Iafrate, Gabriel, D. Phillips, and of course, we got a little switcher-upper here this morning in the booths. We got JB in the technical directing booth, and of course, Flannel Sam in the audio booth. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'll tell you what, if you are a fan of mine, you will have really liked this past week or so, but if you are not, you will have not liked it because I have been everywhere, but I love it. Love it. All kinds of different personalities. Good experience for me, and, you know, you as the audience get a treat. Every single show you see my face. I love it.
I'm sure that's the amazing reviews, actually, that are going on right now. I've never been more excited to have somebody in the audio booth than Flannel Sam, ever, in my life.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
I've never been more excited, but look, today's going to be a fun show. I want to address a few things throughout the show. Obviously, there was some Jared Goff talk yesterday that didn't really make sense to me. We'll get to that later on in the show. I do want to open up with Tim Twentyman, Brad Holmes, their little conversation / interview, if you want to call it, kind of a draft recap. Right. They went through every player, positional value, public perception, you name it, what they're building, why they're building it. It was an amazing conversation. Definitely worth a watch and listen if you haven't already. That's what we'll start the show with. Of course, you got to talk some NBA playoffs later on in the show as well. I do want to get to the Mike Budenholzer situation. What does it mean for the Pistons? And off of that, I also want to discuss the sexual harassment allegations surrounding former assistant GM Mr. Murphy and everything that's going on at LCA with the Detroit Pistons. I think that's very relevant, especially in today's world. So I would like to get to all that and more, but we'll start with this. Brad Holmes sat down with Tim Twentyman, and for me, you hear me all the time say Brad Holmes is the best GM in Detroit Lions history. It's not saying much, but, I mean, we can all admit it's true. It's a bit out there, but still, it is true. I think we all, and if I were to throw a poll in the chat right now, and I would ask for a vote of approval, yes or no, are you bought into Brad Holmes? I would say 95% of you would vote yes. Okay, well, why does that matter this morning? It matters because you see him speak, and he speaks so well, by the way. He's so well spoken. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And when he was describing Jahmyr Gibbs in his interview yesterday, running back was very, very little used, the word running back. It was an offensive weapon. It was a guy that could be a playmaker. It was a guy that could make an impact day one. And for guys like me, and I'm not going to shy away from it, for guys like me that hate, and I will use the word hate, the idea of drafting a running back in the first round, he has his way of speaking to where you can at least accept it, and if you want to be fully on board and support it, be my guest. I get it. I understand it. I don't think you've had a more competent GM, let alone a talent evaluator in the building, especially with the whole group up front, at the top of the front office. There's some big names up there. You got John Dorsey, you got Brad Holmes, you got all these guys that are going to be working with. You like what you're seeing, and the way he described Jahmyr Gibbs, and then he went into Jack Campbell, I just thought was interesting. For me, you'll never be able to convince me that drafting a running back in the first round is the correct long-term move. But if you want to tell me, hey, Adam, their window is actually right now because Philly and San Francisco probably have a year or two left at their peak, and then they're going to have to retool, and you can never really guess how that's going to go. And we're seeing Philly kind of do it. San Francisco returning almost everybody and adding Javon Hargrave. So
right.
If you want to argue their window is now to win the division, to win a playoff game, to get to the divisional round, and maybe get to an NFC title game in the next 2 years, okay. But as long as you're willing to say those are the expectations, and that's why you took these players, I'm willing to live with it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a choice. One, the player's here, and I actually like the player, so there's a bit of a conflict of interest because I hate the position, I love the player. But hearing Brad Holmes talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, I think it reaffirmed what most people said originally, not me included, which was this is a weapon, this is a guy we want day one, this is a guy that's going to be on the field replacing Swift, he's going to add so much to this offense.
Explosive. I think that word has been used every single time that Brad Holmes has talked about him.
Shots.
And I loved how Brad, he kind of gave his side of the whole positional value thing. And he said, I can't blame fans for feeling the way they feel. And I'm glad he addressed this too when he's like, guys, for months, not even just media, but fans, soak themselves in mock drafts, in guys that break down mock drafts, guys that do their own mock drafts, all the content that breaks down each prospect. And then you get to the draft, and then you go, Jahmyr Gibbs at 12? No. This is not what I had for months in all these mock drafts. And Brad's like, guys, no one has the information that they have in the building. So, and we talked about that too on the show. It's like, guys, Brad's perspective of these prospects is much different from ours. I mean, we do mock drafts, we talk about prospects, we watch film, but still to be completely shocked. For example, Brian Branch. I mean, there's a reason why he fell to the third round. Although I love Brian Branch, or the second round, excuse me. Although I love Brian Branch, again, we're shocked because in mock drafts, he's a first-round pick. But when the draft comes, things change. So I'm glad Brad broke that down. I know people may never understand taking a running back in the first round, but the more you hear Brad talk, and he kind of explains his reasoning more than just being an offensive weapon, like high IQ, high football character. There's a lot of things that Brad and Dan love about Jahmyr and Jack besides just what position they play. There's a lot of things they bring to the table. Like he said he talked to Jahmyr Gibbs about route running, and Jahmyr knew, not only does Jahmyr know a lot of different areas of the game because he played receiver, he played running back, they moved him all around in Alabama, but those are the things they look at. And Jack Campbell, for example, guy that just strictly loves football, high football character, like they check a lot more boxes tin just the position they play. So when Brad takes a player, there's a long length of process that goes into it. So again, and Colin Cowherd said this too, I think it was last week, he's like, guys, they had 2 good drafts. They didn't all of a sudden just get stupid. That's not how this works. So you give them the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. So at this point, we have no choice but to love the prospects, but also understand why he took a running back at 12.
Let's talk about the last few drafts, right? He opens up with Penei Sewell in the first round, Levi Onwuzurike and Aleem McNeil, and then you find a gem in Amon-Ra St. Brown later on in that draft. And you really remember his first draft for those 2 players. Nobody else really. Aleem McNeil, nice player, but he's a nice player. That's all you can say. He's not Penei Sewell level or Amon-Ra St. Brown level. And that really won over a lot of people. It's like, man, where'd this kid come from? Boy, Penei Sewell, week 1, Nick Bosa, no problem. Then you moved him to right tackle. Super successful midway into the season. Cool. And then it was, not that the clock was ticking, but hey, this is the first draft where you have an abundance of draft capital. What are you doing with it? 2 and 32 and all the picks you have, da-da-da-da-da. We're going to take Aiden Hutchinson. Fell in our lap. Thank you very much, Jackson. Perfect player for this city.
Right.
The perfect player for this coach and what we're trying to build. And we're going to move up and take a wide receiver because we know how the game is played in today's NFL. You win with weapons. Offensive. Okay, no problem. The Jameson Williams thing hasn't really panned out yet. If you want to look at it that way, but you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to sit here and say or question the Jameson Williams pick yet, but to say I'm not concerned, I'd be a liar. I am concerned a little bit, but we'll move on past that. Now this past draft. This draft was different.
Oh, yeah.
This draft was really different. And when you do things that are either A, unconventional, or B, go against the trend, or how successful winning teams do it, and if you just want to use this past draft as an example, look at what the Eagles did, look at what the Chiefs did, look at what the Bengals did. Did the Bengals re-sign Jesse Bates? No, they did not. Did they invest in defensive line and offensive line in the draft? Yes, they absolutely did.
Mm-hmm.
When the teams that are getting to the final stage, hell, even the Niners, addressing the depth on the offensive end, they let their best tackle go. Okay, no problem. We're going to adjust. We're going to pivot. We can't pay that money, obviously, because I have a team full of all pros. We'll do this. We'll do that. No problem. When you decide to go against that trend, make it make sense to me. Please. And you have to back it up with success, because as much as we all love Brad Holmes, Lions have never won a division yet under this regime. They've never won a playoff game, and they've, hell, never been to the playoffs. I know it's a harsh reality to face, but it's just the reality. That doesn't mean we all don't believe they're going to go out and win the division this year. We all do. But slow down. When you want to go against the trend, I hope you understand what it means. It's not that Jahmyr Gibbs just needs to be a very good player. No. It means he needs to contribute to your success at a higher level than most running backs do in the NFL.
Right.
It means that Jack Campbell, for all intent and purposes, needs to become one of the 10, 12 best linebackers in the NFL in the next 2-3 years. Just like you had the same expectations for Aiden Hutchinson. It's nothing to knock Brad. Were they drafted higher? You know me. I don't mind the Campbell pick. I have no problem with it at all. Drafting a running back, you know how I feel about it? I'm not going to sit and repeat myself, but when you do it, it has to come with success, and he has to be a reason why. I'm curious.
And I love that Brad also mentioned how weak this draft was in terms of the depth. Because that was one thing that I mentioned last week, too. I think people compare every draft laterally. They're all similar. This draft isn't the same as last draft, and last draft wasn't the same as the previous draft. I mean, to go and get Aiden Hutchinson, for him to fall in your hands, and then you trade up and get Jamison Williams, this draft was not as deep as that draft. And Brad even mentioned that, too. He goes, we didn't have a fourth-round pick. They traded up to get Broderick Martin. But he even said verbatim, like, yeah, we didn't really, it didn't matter to us for keeping those picks because we didn't think there was an Amon Rossi and Brown in this draft. We didn't think there was, for example, Malcolm Rodriguez or even a James Houston in this draft. But you never know with Antoine Green. But still, the fact that he made that point kind of confirmed what we already thought was this draft wasn't as good as previous drafts.
But can we be honest here? What year are we in? 2023.
Yes.
Technology, video, social media. I bet you any money. You go to the Bob Quinn, Martin Mayhew, or Matt Millen drafts, and they would have sat up there and gave you the same spiel. I'm not saying Brad Holmes is talking out of his ass. He's not. He's the most educated, most committed, and so far the most successful in terms of roster construction GM you've had in this town. I have no problem with him at all. But for us as a fan base, just in general, and as media,
right,
when we dismiss Brad Holmes knows what he's doing. Shut the fuck up. Who's earned that in the NFL? What GM has earned that? Please, walk me through the list. John Lynch? No. And he's one of the best. Who's earned that level?
I don't think anybody's earned that, but maybe you don't question it as much if you have high six. Like, for example, Brett Veach in Kansas City. I don't think no one questions them, but it's like they just won a Super Bowl. I don't think no one really cares that they took
winning
X
a Super
player.
Bowl, having a 9-win season.
Right. There's
and
the
again,
difference.
Context matters, though.
Right.
The Lions went into a rebuild. They were a 3-win team his first year. He added talent his first 2 drafts. Nobody complained about the talent, except for the first 7 games of last year when it was Brad Holmes' fault, not Dan Campbell's fault. But we'll forget that. Don't worry, guys. I'll forget about that. Mm-hmm. And then you go into the 3rd draft, and let's be honest. He got 2 players you thought were going in the first round and the second round. You got a guy that you thought would have gone in the 2nd round and the 3rd in Hendon Hooker. There was a lot of value. So yeah, you know what? Maybe in theory he did reach on the running back, but I'm willing to swallow it because I know for a fact Jahmyr Gibbs is going to produce on the field. Sam Laporte is a good asset to this team. Brian Branch is the best safety coming out of the draft. Oh, and Jack Campbell's the best linebacker.
I was going to say, if you talk about per
you're getting
position
1, position 2 with Jahmyr Gibbs, you could argue. I think that's pretty clear.
Some had him.
Jack
1.
Campbell ranked number 1. Brian Branch ranked number 1. Sam Laporte top 3. You're walking away with really good players. And then on some people's boards, Hendon Hooker was quarterback 3. So you got him in the 3rd round. Even if it was quarterback 4 or 5, it didn't matter. You got him in the 3rd round.
And I think that's the way to look at it. Although the running back in the 1st round, I understand. Like, there's organizations in the NFL that feel the same way as a lot of these people. So I don't think that's a false or a wrong philosophy. But looking at the talent they got at each position, like you just listed, if you think about that and say that out loud, Braylon just mentioned that yesterday on Ermanni Networks too, Sam, if I'm not wrong, just where they rank at each position. That's the most impressive part. Like you said, the second best running back, the best linebacker, the best DB in the draft, arguably, and the best safety. Like, that's where the value comes in. And then, of course, Hendon in the 3rd round. Like,
the Rams took Todd Gurley with the 10th pick in St. Louis in 2010. Well, what's the difference with taking Gibbs at 12?
They're different backs, too. But still, I don't think there's a...
What you think Gibbs is going to do in the receiving game?
Yes.
Gurley did that, plus carry the ball 25 times a game.
And that's why his career lasted 6 years. So
there's a big difference.
Right. I don't think...
We'll see. Got to give Brad the benefit of the doubt, but that doesn't mean you're not allowed to question him. When we get back, I want to get to Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Hendon Hooker. We kind of alluded to it at the end of this conversation. Forget the value of where you took him. You did a player spotlight yesterday on Sam Laporta, compared him to Michael Mayer.
Right.
Really enjoyed it. Are you looking at, arguably, 5 starters within the next year and a half here in Detroit? Hendon Hooker, I'm not so sold on. Maybe I'm in the minority. I just don't think they drafted him to replace Goff instantly. I think he sits a year, probably 2, but we'll get to that conversation next. And then at 8:30, we'll get to the NBA playoffs. Golden State evening the series with the Lakers. 8:45, we'll open up the phone lines and we'll start taking callers. All that and more coming up next. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Big Boy.
Well, we're talking about draft picks. I'll tell you about Big Boy, the #1 overall draft pick if you're hungry. Strawberry Fest is back, of course, at Big Boy. You could try classic breakfast items if you so choose, like strawberry hotcakes or mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, you can still check out the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with the refreshing summer splash salad. Check it all out and more at Big Boy.
How would you like to win not 1, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, and thanks for tuning in. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, be sure to check out our articles and our great merchandise that is updating all the time. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening after the fact, wherever you listen to your podcasts, please download this episode and leave a 5-star review.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live. Jeff, Brad Holmes sat down with Tim Twentyman yesterday, kind of did an entire debrief of
It was a great interview.
Their 2023 draft, about a half hour long, really, really good sit down, really good listen and watch. I recommend all of you getting to it. Shout out to Tim Twentyman, he did a hell of a job, but...
Always does.
Oh yeah, he's excellent.
Yeah, he's a pro.
He's
Hits
excellent.
the mark every time.
But let's get to Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Hendon Hooker. And I'll start with the quarterback, and then you can take Branch and Laporta, because I need to understand if I'm missing something. Flannel, feel free to interject anytime. Since when does drafting a quarterback in the 3rd round who's coming off an ACL injury put Jared Goff on the hot seat? Since when does a quarterback who is unproven in the NFL put any quarterback, let alone an average or very good quarterback, on the hot seat? When did I miss the memo? Hendon Hooker, a lot of upside. Low risk, third round pick. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Jared Goff goes out, throws 4,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Pitchforks are out. What's going to happen? Wins a division title? Wins a playoff game, dare I say? Pitchforks going to be out? No. So what is it? I'm not understanding this Hendon Hooker, Jared Goff conversation. To me, this is very simple. This is the Lions insurance policy. They believe in Jared Goff. They know they've struggled having a backup over the last few years. And Hendon Hooker, let's be honest, is in the perfect situation. He doesn't have to play right away. He can sit for an entire season, consume everything, be supported by one of the best offensive lines in football, a very good backfield, good wide receivers, a good tight end, hopefully. You're feeling really good about the offense. That's a great situation for any quarterback, let alone a rookie. So he's going to have that, and let's say you go into the 24 season, he's your backup. He's your backup. And if Jared Goff gets hurt for a long period of time, there's your tryout. And if he's really good, you move on from Jared Goff, and you never had to sign him anyways. And if he gets hurt, let's say Jared Goff for 4 games, and Hendon Hooker is abysmal in those 4 games, well then, there you go. I'm not following the Hendon Hooker correlates to Jared Goff is on the hot seat. It gives the Lions leverage. I don't think it gives the Lions any leverage. He's an unproven rookie. When I have one of the guys who's won divisions, won playoff games, and accomplished everything you're trying to accomplish right now, and let's be honest, we all expect this quarterback, this team, to go out and win this year. So what am I missing, please?
Well, I disagree with you when you said it doesn't give him any leverage, because although you're right, he's unproven. We don't know what he is yet. We know what he was in college, but in the NFL, we don't know. But the fact that we just mentioned how he was arguably a top 3 quarterback in this draft, and would have been, I would assume, if he won the Heisman, a first-round pick, to say that puts no leverage in the Lions' favor, I just don't agree with. I think there is leverage. Now, what the plan is for Hendon is a different conversation, because I don't know. The first year, he's clearly not going to play, or at least he shouldn't play. This is a year for him to get 100% healthy, learn the playbook, get to watch how Jared operates. But of course, there is upside with Hendon Hooker. And again, if you're Jared Goff in this situation, or the Lions, we'll just talk about it from Brad's point of view, and you're coming to Jared Goff with a potential contract extension, you can't get a handcuffed, because even if Jared Goff comes to the table and says, all right, I want $45 million, I'm just doing this to do it, he could take less, but if he wants $45 million, at least Brad Holmes can say, okay, we'll at least have a year of Hendon Hooker in practice, and that's on them to evaluate it, because Brad didn't just take Hendon to be a career backup. Like, clearly there's something he sees in Hendon, potentially, and if it doesn't work out, to your point, it's low risk. But there is, like, for example, when the Cowboys took Dak Prescott, and again, I know you hate when I bring this up because I don't like Dak at all, they didn't expect him to be their franchise quarterback. You don't just assume or expect these guys are going to be your franchise quarterback. Well, what happened? Romo went down, Dak stepped in, never lost a job from there. So there is a potential scenario where Hendon can take the job, but to your point, we don't know anything about Hendon. So right now, to say Hendon's coming for the job already would be ridiculous. But I do think it gives the Lions a little bit of leverage. I wouldn't say it gives them none, that you took a quarterback that should have been a first-round pick in the 3rd round. What about you, Sam? Am I off?
The reality of this situation is we all appreciate what Jared Goff did last season, and I think it's set up for him to have another Pro Bowl level year this year. It might be even more set up with even more offensive weapons, another year of the offensive line, another year of Amon-Ra St. Brown, etc., etc. This Hendon Hooker thing, to me, it's a question of, is there anything that Jared Goff can do short of leading this team to maybe an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl and having a Pro Bowl year where you're going to want to pay him $50 million a year? That's the big question. Because Jared Goff, in his career, we appreciate what he's done. He's had 3 Pro Bowl seasons, 3 mid-years, and a terrible rookie season with Jeff Fisher as his coach, which you can pretty much throw out the window. He's still a relative, I don't want to say unknown, but we don't think he's ever going to be an elite quarterback. And if Jared Goff asks for $50 million, which isn't outside the realm of possibility since Daniel Jones, him and his 15 touchdown passes, got $40 million AAV, I don't know if there's anything that he can do that would make me want to pay him that. If they can negotiate something less than in the low 40s, then maybe that conversation is there. But Hendon Hooker, I was one of the people that had him as the third best quarterback in the draft. He's got the arm, he's got the accuracy, he's got the mobility, he's coming off an injury, he had 58 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in his last 2 years at Tennessee.
Talk to him.
Why the hell not? I don't think nobody's saying put Jared Goff in the garbage can right now. I think people actually agree with your assessment, Adam, that it's not just like we want Jared Goff out right away. It's just, do we want to pay him $50 million when he asks for an extension or when his contract is up in 2 years? I think that's the discussion.
And how are you going to tell Jared, no, we're good, when you got Sudfeld backing him up? Like, at least now you have Hendon Hooker. You're like, I don't want to pay you $45 million. We'll go forward with Hendon Hooker. We have a year. We got to see him in practice.
That's where love the optimism.
But that's where the leverage comes in.
But that is pretend leverage. Because Jared Goff is going to walk to the table, whether you, me, Flannel, or anybody likes it or not.
Right.
After another season that you expect him to be pretty damn good. And he's going to say, as a Detroit Lion, I've now thrown for over 4,200 yards in consecutive years. Over 25 touchdowns in consecutive years, and I'm turning the ball over at an all-time low rate. I'm doing what I was doing when I was the number 1 overall pick in L.A. with the Rams, Todd Gurley, Sean McVay, and that team. You want to use a backup that we've only seen in practice? Yeah, go. I'll go to the market. Someone will pay me $45, $50 million. In the open market, Jared Goff will fetch a lot of money.
$50 million?
And that's just the truth.
He can get it.
If Jimmy Garoppolo can hit
Detroit.
free agency, if Daniel Jones, even though his contract is really bullish and BS, but anyways, it's not the point. These guys are going to get paid. It's the most important position in football. There will be a team that says, we're a quarterback away. Look what the Jets were willing to do because they messed up on Zach Wilson. Mm-hmm. They're willing to give up first-round pick after first-round pick after second and third and conditional fourths to take on a guy with $60 million on his contract who's 40 years old. So before we jump, and I get it, again, you can look to the future and say, if Hendon Hooker is this, it gives the Lions leverage, but he isn't.
So if they took a quarterback at 6, would it give them
it
more
tells
leverage?
me that Goff is not the starter in 24.
So there's still no leverage at all, even if you draft a quarterback at 6.
If you draft a quarterback at 6, Jared Goff is cut at the end of the year, regardless of what
But I'm
he
asking,
does
it gives them zero leverage if they take a quarterback at 6?
Why would they take a quarterback?
I'm just asking you, does the draft position matter? Because if
absolutely
CJ's
it
there
does.
at 6, you take him. Is that leverage?
Absolutely.
So,
it matters completely. What do you mean?
Do you hear what you just said?
Yes.
So taking a quarterback at 6 gives them leverage, and arguably Hendon, who's a top 15,
leverage.
top 20
That's what
pick.
I'm saying. There's no leverage.
So what you're saying is, I'm going to just so I hear you correctly, zero leverage for no matter who they would have taken.
No, because you're talking about leverage at the contract table, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
You draft a quarterback at 6, Jared Goff can do whatever the hell he wants. The Lions are starting that kid at 6 next year, no matter what. It would be criminal to draft a quarterback at 6 and sit him 2 years. They absolutely won't do it. So to me, if they draft a quarterback in the first round, Goff is gone at the end of the year, no matter what.
I'm trying to make the point of, so again, if you're going to argue that taking CJ Stroud at 6 gives them leverage or assures that Jared is no longer a Detroit Lion in 2 years, then what's the difference between taking a guy who was projected a first-round pick, a top 20 pick, who fell because of an injury and because of his age? Like, is it just because he's a third-round pick, it erases everything?
No,
it's not the player himself.
No, it's about, yes, it is in part because of where you took him, but he's going to spend the first half of the year learning the playbook, getting healthy, and developing. The back half of the year, if Goff goes down, I think Hendon Hooker will be more than ready by then to step in and play a game or two if needed. But right now, we're just basing off of his college career, and that means nothing. I have an NFL-capable quarterback in Jared Goff.
Absolutely.
I know he's not the sexy product. I know it's not the Lamborghini. I know it's not the Ferrari. But you're driving
A good Ford truck.
a good, Ford Bronco to work every day. That's a good damn truck. Nothing wrong with a Ford Bronco.
No.
Gets you to A and B. You can get the job done. Hell, you can even load it with a bunch of shit.
Looks pretty nice too.
With all the potholes in Michigan, can you even really drive a Ferrari around here? God knows. So,
all I'm saying is, based off what I have, the data in front of me, which is Hendon Hooker's collegiate career, I can't just sit here and say, well, we don't know what he can be. He can be a bust. Well, that's true. Every quarterback taken could be a bust. But all I know is based on what I've seen in college, his career at Tennessee, like Sam just laid out statistically what he did, but more importantly, being in the race for the Heisman, I mean, that's got to give them at least something, or at least some sort of insurance policy. Maybe it's the known versus the unknown,
I think they're calling
which I agree.
agent. I think they're calling the agent, and they're saying, hey, we'd like to get into contract extension talks right now. We're happy with Goff. We like where this is going. We think we're building a really good team around him. But we're not interested in getting into a bidding war for Jared. You make your intentions clear from day one. And then they'll go to the table. And I'm sorry, I know on yesterday on the heavyweights, they kind of took Jared Goff's words out of context. To me, this is a guy that's not going to sit there and say, I need the money to be here. This is a guy that wants to prove his former coach and organization wrong. He wants to win. And I think we're writing off the idea that he would not be willing to take a deal. But let's take a break. When we get back, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are the two greatest players I've ever seen play in NBA history, and they showed it last night. So we'll get to the Lakers-Warriors game next, but before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Swiss Insurance.
Well, while we're on the topic of Brad Holmes, if you like our draft picks and you agree that Brad did a good job, be a boss and take control of your insurance options like Brad did with the Detroit Lions. Draft a company that'll give you the most cost-effective plan and protect you like the best O-line in the league. Email Swiss Insurance today, mark@swissins.com. That's mark@swissins.com, or go to www.swissins.com for more information.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Woodward Show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, thanks for checking out the website. Be sure to check out all that we have to offer at woodwardsports.com. Articles, merchandise, clips. It's all there for you to enjoy. If you're listening via podcast, download and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe.
All right. Golden State
prepare
absolutely
yourselves for this.
took the Lakers to the shed last night. I told you it would happen. For two reasons. One, they weren't going to drop game 2, but more importantly, they were now on the same level field in terms of they both had a day off. And Anthony Davis, look, it just so happens that Flannel Sam's on the show today, so, we have to do this. But this is the problem with guys like Anthony Davis, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, just these guys that are like star players. They're really good, but they're not superstars. They're not hardcore motherfuckers. Jason Tatum's one of them too. You don't go drop 45 and then 12 the next day, James Harden. You don't go and drop 30 and 20 and be the first Lakers center big man to do it since Shaq, and then show up and give me 11 and 7. I don't care if you had one day of rest. I don't care if it was a back-to-back. I will never understand this with the modern star player. But the Golden State Warriors absolutely killed him. They made the adjustment I told you they should make, which was put the ball in Steph Curry's hand, and Vanderbilt had no answer. It wasn't about the scoring for Steph. It was the pick-and-roll action, his ability to attack the basket, dish out. He had, 12 assists last night? 11 assists, No, I was right. 12 assists last night. Unbelievable performance. Klay Thompson gave you a vintage performance.
Yeah, that's Klay. And again, this is the problem I had from the series start. Although I picked the Lakers in 6, my biggest concern was two things. One, the consistency or the inconsistency of Anthony Davis, but the other part is that Lakers backcourt. D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves can't stop a nosebleed. They're traffic cones. And you're guarding Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. That's a problem. And the biggest adjustment the Warriors made, in my opinion, easily, was Draymond Green guarding AD. a majority of the game. You look at game 1 to game 2, Kevin O'Connor tweeted this out, shout out to him. He said, Draymond Green went from defending Anthony Davis for 34% of the plays in game 1 to 62% of the plays in game 2. Game 1, it was majority Kevon Looney. Game 2, it was pretty much all Draymond Green, and you saw the difference like Adam just laid out. I mean, you go from 30 and 20 with 4 blocks to the following game playing 30 minutes, taking 11 shots. Like, this is the problem I have with Anthony Davis. And me and Sam see Anthony Davis, I think he gets disrespected in a way. The only thing I have about AD is his mentality and his inability to stay healthy. That's it. The guy is insanely skilled, talent, Hall of Fame talent. But this is the stuff that frustrates the hell out of me, Sam. Like, there is no way in hell in game 2 Anthony Davis should be 3rd on your team in shots. Explain it to me.
I mean, the reality of the situation is I am as big of an AD defender as you will find at this network. Sometimes I feel like I'm on an island all alone. He absolutely shit down his leg last night. That is factual. You can't have 11 and 7 after the previous game going 30 and 23. But let's just look at this rationally really quick. The Lakers stole home court advantage. I know that the Warriors absolutely blitzed them last night, but it's 1-1 going back to what was Staples Center and now is the Crypto Arena or whatever they call it. And the Warriors this regular season were 11 and 30 on the road. And need I remind you that as soon ago as 2020, AD gave you 28, 10, and 4 on ridiculous efficiency for an entire playoff run in which he was LeBron's probably best Robin in a playoff run ever. So I'm not all out on AD just yet. I am livid at him for how he played last night. But as long as he gives you, I would say, at least 3 or 4 of those vintage AD games, he doesn't always have to give you 30 and 20.
Well, here's the problem
they'll be fine.
with that. Here's the problem. And this is the biggest problem I saw last night. Game 1, what was my reaction? I told you both. You in the back, you on the show. I told you the Lakers played their best game, and the Warriors didn't show up, and that was a close game down the stretch. Game 2, yeah, I expected that. And here's the problem with the Lakers. They took 34 threes compared to the 21 they took in Game 1. They shot more, and they made less. They shot 29% from 3 as a team. This is not a good shooting team. LeBron James in the first quarter, everybody was ready to crown him as the king. And because he is almost 40 years old, second half, he can't hit a jump shot. He doesn't have the strength to blow by players. He has to pick and choose his moments because he can't do it every play.
Right.
And nobody can guard LeBron. That's the funny thing. Nobody can guard LeBron on the Warriors. But you can guard AD. And who's going to beat you? D'Angelo Russell, who hit 5 mid-range shots. Congratulations. Missed every three-point shot he took. Rui Hachimura was your best player in an LA Laker uniform last night. That's not good. I got nothing. This is a team. You look at their bench. You look at the depth. Where's the scoring coming from? Where's the scoring coming from? Even if AD dropped 31 last night, they still lose by 7. I'm missing something here. Scoring, not what the Lakers do well. Dominating the paint, what they do well.
Yes.
They didn't even get a free throw until the last, 10 seconds of the first half. So, yeah, AD played like a bitch. LeBron James did what he could in the first half, and the Warriors completely took over from there. It was over. It was over. Third quarter Warriors always show up.
And again, you watch Austin Reeves chase Klay Thompson around all night, around every single screen. Like, that's already a hard enough job in itself. I mean, you watch Marcus Smart do it for the Celtics in the finals, and those guys even struggled to keep it up with Klay and Steph. And now you got Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. Like, it doesn't take a scientist to understand that's a significant drop-off. So the Lakers defensively, especially on the interior with AD, I mean, he's been consistent all playoffs defensively, but offensively, you need AD to beat Game 1 AD.
Yeah, but they take advantage of AD on the court. Even AD, for all the credit we give him, and he is a super talent, you bring him out to the key, make him go through pick and rolls. I mean, he's not. He's not a help defender.
No.
He's staying closer to the paint. And that's given Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, and all these guys that are coming off the pick and rolls and the screens free shots, man. I don't know how the Warriors don't win this game or this series in 5 or 6.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm serious.
Wow.
This to me is they got their game. They played the game of their lives to get Game 1. And then you saw the clear mismatch that the Lakers have. Now, can they win another game and they get hot one night and put up 130, 125 points? Maybe. You could sell me on them making this a 6-game series, but
Right.
They don't have shooters. In a shooting league, they can't shoot the ball. And Anthony Davis shit himself being guarded by Draymond Green, who's much smaller than him, and you're stronger than Draymond, and you attempt floaters to start the game? You don't put your shoulder into him and send a message? No,
Right.
I can't with these players, man.
And we got to address the elephant in the room, too. And listen, I as much as I'm willing to defend LeBron James, last night he did have the worst plus-minus on the entire Lakers team. And he played actually well statistically, but still, the second half...
He always does statistically well.
No, but here's the problem. He played good. He can't just play good when AD's playing like that. I mean, LeBron, and I get it, he's 38 years old.
But he can't do that anymore, so
that's the problem, is can LeBron James, especially in year, 20, do what we've always seen LeBron...
from
I
three.
know. And even last night, 3 for 8, to be honest with you, it's not great, but it's better than what he's done. If AD's going to do that, Sam Flannel, LeBron James is going to have to go back in a time machine about 6 years and just completely dominate the series. But he shouldn't have to do that, nor do I think he will do that. I think it's really all on AD. AD's got to come out and continue to play well. You can't expect LeBron at 38 to completely put this Lakers team on his back and beat the defending champs.
So
even though he did play, he struggled in the second half last night.
So this is how it works now. Let me just do the math. In game 1, when AD dropped 30 and 23 and obviously had a phenomenal game, AD completely carried LeBron. I'm sure Steph fans will say that Klay Thompson shooting 8 of 11 from 3 is because Steph allowed him to do that. I'm sure that's how it's going to work, because that's how the Stephanites like to operate in this situation. But you know
that's
what?
not true.
Stephanie.
That's not true. And
Never
I'll
heard
tell
that
you
one
why
before.
that's not true. I'll tell you the biggest difference.
I can't wait, Adam.
And I think you're going to agree with me, actually. You know why that is consensus, national fan base talk with LeBron? He's a big part of it. He built this narrative. He built all of the, whether hate, doubt, whatever you want to call it, from day one. This was established and started with LeBron from when he was 17, 18 years old. So, yeah, he came into the NBA. Everybody doubted him, and then he ended up being the second greatest player of all time. What? Unfucking real. What player ever actually lived up, if not exceeded, expectations like LeBron James did? But this is the problem. Because you want to go back to the Miami days. You want to go back to the original Cleveland days. There were always excuses. There were always reasons. Some very good reasons. But it's not about AD carrying LeBron. It's not about LeBron not enabling that entire team. We know LeBron's the best player on that team, and we know he needs a really good AD to win, just like Steph needs a really good Klay. Klay can't go 0 for 10 in the first half against the Lakers. That's not a recipe for winning basketball, right? So I just think that's a cheap way that fans disagree and try to diminish points. To me, at the end of the day, the Warriors are the better team. They're the better shooting team. I think defensively, these are both good teams. But I'm going to take the team that can shoot the ball and has more shooters than me relying on Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Rui Hachimura to be 3 of my 5 leading scorers. I'm pretty terrified of that fact. So,
I mean, we also, for the record, we also count on AD, and maybe this is fool's gold from time to time, to score more than 11 points. I at least expect 2 more 35-point games out of AD. Is that fair?
Yes.
But this is the problem with AD, right? Because I know what I'm getting from LeBron every night, and that's why he's the better and the best player still on that team. With AD, how dare you drop 30 and 20 and impose your will,
Right.
and follow up with 11 points?
And then
You're no different than Jason Tatum.
Yep.
James Harden. It's pathetic to me. Steph Curry, last night, didn't force anything. 3 for 5 in the first half. Well, I think it was 3 for 5 really heading into midway into the third. He wasn't taking a shot.
Yeah,
Why?
he was
operating, ball handling,
Yeah.
and he was leading the team in assists.
just dissecting the Lakers defense.
You can win in different ways. I'm not going to sit here and knock LeBron or AD, but when you show up and play like that, I don't got much hope for you.
Well,
I don't.
And the biggest AD fan here, I said that Anthony Davis shit down his leg last night. So that's saying something. I defend him at almost every single avenue. I cannot defend last night. That was terrible.
You don't really waver very much when you are stuck on someone. So that is a big, big step.
Well, it's because people go way too far the other way. Like who I'm going to see on the next show, Neil Rule, is going to act like he's trash. What's
Let me
that?
tell you something about life. There are two extremes. There's the left and the right, and then somewhere in the middle is like normal fucking people.
Yeah.
That actually get how stuff works. That's where you should operate, Flannel.
100%.
Can we two things we can admit? Number one, whoever wins this series is losing to Denver. Number two, I feel bad for all the people that put parlays on AD to score over whatever the point total is, because I don't know how often that hits, but don't do it any longer. I know Sean, my good friend Sean Murphy did it yesterday, put a parlay on Anthony Davis with his points included. That's a dangerous game with AD. If you're betting on him to do something in a game, typically he does the complete opposite. So buyers beware there. But yes, in my opinion, whoever wins this series, you're facing the Denver Nuggets, and I think the Denver Nuggets are better than both these teams. But this series is going to be good. I think for you to say, would you say it would be a 5-game series? You could see that? I think 5 or 6 easily. Yeah. How do you win? How do you win if you can't shoot? Please. You got your 2 days of rest extra on the Warriors, and you came out game 1 and played like it. Now it's an even level playing field. Now what?
I mean, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Rui Hachimura are all capable of getting hot. So is LeBron James.
Yeah, and I'm capable of becoming a woman. That doesn't mean I'm going to be or, we're not going to do
They're more likely to get hot than you are becoming a woman, just for the record.
We're not doing this. Let's take a break. When we get back, we're going to start taking callers. Phone lines in the chat, 313-552-6322. We'll start taking your calls. Are you more accepting of the Detroit Lions draft now that we're almost a week past it? We're just over a week past the first round of the NFL draft. Where are you at? As a fan base, how do you feel about the picks? What do you think they do for the team? We'll start taking the calls. But before we do, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Planet Fitness. And they are thrilled to announce to all high schoolers between the ages of 14 and 19 in the United States and Canada that you can work out for free all summer long from May 15th to August 31st at any Planet Fitness near you. Plus, they're giving away $200,000 to high schools and students that participate. PlanetFitness.com. Check them out today. Your fitness is essential.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. Because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
At work and at home. We're there with smarter security solutions, featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show, and I have a quick question for Mr. Flannel. Flannel, where do you listen to your podcasts at?
Obviously, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can get your podcasts.
Great.
Anywhere.
Great. And did you know that you can download Woodward Sports Podcasts on all those platforms and leave a 5-star review?
Not only do I know it, I have done it.
Very nice. Well, do exactly what Flannel has done. Go and check out our podcast, download, and leave a 5-star review. There you have it.
All right. I love it. We're back here on the Morning Woodward Show, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to start taking callers. Your guys' feedback. Hopefully you've watched Brad Holmes' sit down with Tim Twentyman. I want to know what you guys think. We're now a week removed from the draft. All the shock, all the energy starting to settle down. Call in. Make your voice heard. In love with the draft, still hate it, doesn't sit right, wait and see, whatever your answer may be. You guys tell us. We'll have a conversation. So, Flannel, I want to ask you before I get to all the calls, your thoughts on the NFL draft, because you've never been on the show really all draft week. We haven't had a chance to talk to you. So I want to know what you thought of the draft originally and where you're at now.
Well, originally, I was like a lot of people. I wanted the Lions to stand pat and take Jalen Carter and then go from there. So I was.
You were part of the draft idiot crowd. Yep.
Oh, the draft idiot crowd.
No.
The,
Good man, Sam.
The player that the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the Super Bowl favorites in the NFC, decided to take. But anywho, that's fine because we're not the Eagles. We are the Lions. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs. The running back at 12, you're obviously a little bit skeptical, but he was the best receiving back coming out of the draft. My favorite stat on him is in his 3 seasons in college, he had over 100 receptions for 11.7 yards per catch. So if he becomes like a Alvin Kamara or, dare I say, Christian McCaffrey, it might be worth it. Jack Campbell's a tackling machine. He's going to step right in and be the best linebacker on the team, or at least he should. Sam Laporta, I would have probably preferred Michael Mayer at the time, but in terms of speed, measurables, hand size, 40-time cone, all the drills, Sam Laporta has him beat in everything, and I think he's better in yards after catch. Brian Branch might have been the second best DB in the draft. If he had a higher 40-time, I think that was the only thing that prevented him from being a first-round pick. He had 90 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 14 tackles for loss in his last season at Alabama. Amazing. I like Hendon Hooker. He was my 3rd favorite quarterback in the draft, and they addressed the defensive line with Broderick Martin. I would have taken Double-A out of Northwestern at that point, but you know what? They had to address it somehow, but I think he's a bit of an unknown. This draft is definitely, after I saw what Brad Holmes did throughout the totality of it, is sitting a lot easier with me than it did at the beginning, and I think the Lions will be just fine, and they will be a vastly improved team.
All right, fair enough. Well, let's get to the callers. We'll start with Mike. Flannel, if you don't mind sending Mike through. Mike, you're on the Morning Woodward Show. What do you got for us, buddy?
Is that me?
Yep.
That's you, sir.
Welcome to the show, Mike.
Oh, hey, how's it going? It's Mike from West Branch.
What's up, Mike?
Well, you know, this draft really shouldn't surprise us. I hear everyone talking about how surprised they are about a running back. Brad came out before the draft talking about how they drafted Gurley, and I understand he's a drastically different player than the one that we drafted. But he came out talking about how they drafted Gurley, and everyone thought it was strange, and then they wound up in the Super Bowl. And then you've also got Dan, who comes from New Orleans, who is used to having the 2 running back system. You know, you look what they did when they drafted, what's his name out of Alabama? And then,
Mark,
you know,
Mark
they always
Ingram
have those.
and Alvin Kamara there.
Yeah, thank you, Mark Ingram. Yeah. So they both come from that frame of mind where you draft those running backs. So it really shouldn't have surprised us. And he kind of told us about it when he was talking about Gurley before the draft. The second thing I wanted to kind of touch on real quick is, although I think he was an absolute idiot for doing it in JMO, he may have indirectly actually helped us. If for some now I may misunderstand the way his contract's written and stuff, because I'm not obviously a lawyer, and but he may have actually helped us out if he is a bust, because it's no longer a guaranteed contract. So if he does end up being a bust, you can let him go, and it's not going to hurt your salary cap. And I truly hope he's not. I believe he's a blessed individual when it comes to speed and football, and I hope and pray everything works out with him. But I don't think, given his contract situation, now that it's not guaranteed, it will end up hurting us if he is a bust. We can just move on from him.
Mike,
so
do you
indirectly,
think the Gibbs
if
pick,
he does screw up and isn't a good player.
Mike,
yeah.
Do you think the Gibbs pick was a reaction, or were they more inclined to take Gibbs once the Jameson Williams suspension came through?
I think it was a dual reaction. The first part was that Devin was Witherspoon or whatever.
Taken at 5. Yep.
I can't think of what his name is. He was taken at 5. I think that was the first thing that set the ball rolling. And then the second thing is they're sitting there looking, going, okay, we're going to lose Jameson for 6 games. We're going to need something to fill that position. And it helps us out if Swift is injured. You know, I don't think they expected him to request a trade the way he did. But, I mean, hey, you know, don't let the door hit you.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
You had the world in your hands, and you decided to, you know, rather than play hurt, there's a difference between hurt and injured, and the man doesn't know how to play hurt.
I would agree with that, Mike.
That's my opinion anyway.
Well, look, I appreciate you calling in. I think this is your first time, no, calling in?
No.
No, no. I'm the one that invited you guys up to go golfing up here at the Nightmare and
West
the
Branch.
Dream.
See, Mike, Adam isn't aware of West
I'm
Branch.
a crackhead.
Yeah,
Jeff has better memory than me. I apologize, Mike.
Hey, they we have our own brewing company up here, the Highway. Come on up. We'll go out, have a beer and go golfing, man.
I love it.
Let's do it.
We'll take you up on it, hopefully sooner than later, Mike. Have a good rest of your day, buddy.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Sounds good. Yeah, have a blessed day, guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to Kari. Kari, you're on the Morning Woodward Show. What do you got for us this morning?
Yo, guys, what's poppin'? What's going on?
What's up, man?
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. Night one of the draft, it was a head scratcher. I was trying to find myself, kind of finding a way to be satisfied with the picks, and then as the draft went on and looking at it as a whole, ooh, fucking wait, I'm geek. I can't fucking wait. Fuck the Bears, fuck the Packers, and fuck them bitch-ass Vikings. We running the fucking North, and Adam, I know you don't like hearing motherfuckers say this shit, but that Super Bowl is ours, baby.
Get Adam going this morning.
I'll tell you what. You know what? One, I appreciate you calling in, Kari. I love the enthusiasm. Two,
and dropping facts.
Dude, let me tell you. One, I agree with you about the North. I'm not gonna do the Super Bowl shit. You already know me so well, but I do agree. The North is the Lions to take and to lose, in my opinion, this year. I agree with you. But let me ask you this. You said you were scratching your head after day one. I think most people were. And then Brad Holmes comes out and speaks on the players. And then you meet the players. You kind of deep dive a little more onto the specific players. And you're like, you know what? I can live with it. I'm still scratching my head, but I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a really good football player. Where are you at with the Gibbs pick? Notably, I don't think anybody really had a problem with Jack Campbell. If they did, I think it's the minority. To me, the Gibbs pick is probably what caused all the controversy. So you walk me through what you think of Gibbs.
Man, if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, Beydoun, to me personally, I always had Jahmyr Gibbs as my preference over Beydoun, but that's just me. So when I seen that we grabbed Jahmyr, I was fucking excited. Jack Campbell was the one that kind of had me scratching my head a little bit, but listening to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell about like how they talk about him and stuff like that, fuck it, I'm gonna trust them. I'm gonna trust them. They know what they doing. I don't. I'm gonna shut the hell up. Let the men do their work. Let the boys cook. And I'm gonna just be in the field. I'm gonna just be in Ford Field when it's time to win. That's all I gotta do.
I love it, Kari. Appreciate you calling in, brother. Take care. Call back anytime.
Yep, no doubt, bro.
Man, look.
I love that. I love that man. I love his energy.
That's the kind of energy I live for.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, if we're honest, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but you go to the off season before the draft. Yeah, you had the best off season in terms of upgrading secondary. Nobody did a better job than the Lions did in upgrading their secondary. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton. You signed David Montgomery. You let Jamal bum-ass Williams walk away. Great move. Great move. You re-signed some players that you needed on the defensive line for depth. No problem. You get to the draft. The talk is about defensive tackle. The talk is about defense. And then Devon Witherspoon goes at 5, and he was the favorite to go to the Lions at 6. Okay. Strategy shifts. They trade back. They acquire pick 34, which is essentially a first-round pick.
Right.
And here you go. The board completely changes. Players go on the board. Players go off the board. And you're sitting there like, okay. And I can only give you Brad Holmes' explanation, not mine. Brad Holmes' explanation. And they're sitting there at 12, and they're saying, that's our board. And our board reads Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Cousins, Maine Lobster, and then a huge gap. And then it's all these other players. Why are we going to wait? And, we talked about it Wednesday before the draft. Sometimes you have to be willing to get criticized to move forward and take players that you believe in.
That will impact your team.
Right away.
Like he says.
I know that's not the sexy answer. I know that's not the best answer overall, but you know what? They are held accountable by the players they take. And I would rather my general manager and head coach and front office and organization fail taking the players they believe in after they've had such good drafts in the past 2 years than them fall to public or conventional pressure. It's just what I would prefer. I don't have to agree or love it, but I can at least respect the direction the team is taking. We'll take a break. Top of the hour. When we get back, we'll continue with the callers. I want to get everybody's opinion. What do you think of the draft now? We're just over a week removed from it. Where are you at? Any player, any round, Hendon Hooker, I don't care. You call in, you tell me what you believe the Lions did right, what they did wrong. But before we go, I got to tell you about, well, my good friends you see on the screen, Cousins Maine Lobster. Scan the QR code. Go to cousinsmainelobster.com. Find out where their food truck's going to be. Enjoy yourself. Treat yourself to some lobster tacos, clam chowder soup, you name it, whatever the hell it is. Treat yourself. Thank me later. cousinsmainelobster.com. We'll see you right back after the break.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
My name is Lee. I've lost 35 pounds on the Custom Health Center program. So the three biggest benefits that I've gotten from this program has been I'm not snoring anymore, I have a lot of energy, it's great, and oh, by the way, look at this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, thanks for joining us. Be sure to also follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at Woodward Sports. And I'm hearing this great music behind me, and I can't help but laugh because Flannel is, I think, the king of like the Oscar shut your mouth, Adham, it's time to go to break noise.
Oh, yeah.
It played for like 30 to 45
and I
seconds.
Ignore it. I don't give a fuck. I don't.
They would have like lowered your mic. The music would have been all the way up. And
I would walk off the set if anybody ever muted my mic. I would walk up and I would never come back.
You're such a baby.
You wouldn't have gone in the first place, let's be honest.
I mean, try me. All right, let's keep taking callers. Fletch has been patiently waiting on hold. Fletcher on the morning show. What do you got for us, buddy? How do you feel about the draft now that we're a week removed?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm always patiently waiting for you guys. So
appreciate you calling.
Anyway,
Appreciate
go Gators down here from. Yeah, thanks, man. Go Gators. Hey, I love the draft, man. Oh, did she pick up on that?
Yeah, she picked
I
up
heard
on
that
it.
one.
Yeah, I just flicked her
Her
off.
jaw just went to the floor. Go Knowles.
That's
Roll
funny.
Tide.
Go Gators. Hey, anyway, guys, at first, I'm like everybody else. We were shocked in the first round. It felt like 1986, going back, getting a running back and linebacker. That's what everybody does, right? But when you look at how much turnover this team had over the offseason, and is still having, it's exciting because we're going to have a different team. Now, will we still have that romanticized Lions team that's up and coming, or are we going to take a step back? That's the big question, but I don't see how we're going to take a step back with this roster that we are acquiring. Jameer for Swift. I mean, he knew they were getting rid of Swift. Everybody knew it. So Jameer just going to be a nice addition to his spot to take over. And, of course, they knew that Jamo was going to be out, so you got to have that dual threat. And he's perfect. You know, David Montgomery's going to do his thing, and Jameer's going to do his thing, and it's going to be exciting. And then, of course, the Hooker pick, I don't know what to say about that, man. That was incredible. Just to have him in the fold, whether he works out or not, he is there, and Jared Goff knows it. So I think it's going to help Goff ultimately having a little competition in the room. And if it doesn't work out with Goff, guess who we got to step up? Mr. Hooker.
And Fletch, I got to give you credit because that was probably one of the most level-headed, fair takes I've heard so far with the draft. Because I think people they kind of get overworked, especially with the idea when they see a running back taken at 12, and they look at it and they try to put Jameer in a box. But when you really break it down, Jameer, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch will all be starters, or at least will be in the future. So if you look at it like that, you got multiple players that not only will impact you right away, but players that will help you down the line, like a Brian Branch if Gardner Johnson were to leave, as in Hendon Hooker. I mean, if he turns into something and Jared Goff is no longer a quarterback, there you go. So the way you approached it, I got a lot of respect for. I wish more Lions fans, at least initially, would see things your way. But you're noticing now, as the draft's passed, more people are kind of coming to the same opinion as you.
Well, I mean, the fans don't have a choice.
Yeah, with all... Exactly. And with all the turnover, you got to have these guys that can plug and play. You got to have them in there ready to go. The Sam Laporta pick, I'm okay with it. It wasn't my favorite. He's a great player, but, man, I was really happy with what we did last year with the three that we have, just taking their turns, choosing their battles. And that's what they did, man. They were so productive. That really impressed me last year after we lost Hawkinson. That was a big thing. And I wish it dealt with the defensive line a little earlier, maybe a better player, but we'll see how Broderick does. He's a big man. He takes up a lot of space.
Right.
6'6", 330 pounds.
Yeah, he's a massive.
Not normal.
He's a massive human
He fills
being.
that hole.
Yeah, it's not normal, but appreciate the call, Fletch. Well done, buddy. Call back anytime.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Fletch.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, man.
Y'all take care.
Yep. You said something, and Fletch kind of acknowledged it, too, and it's not that I disagree, but I don't think it's fair. Fans don't have a choice but to accept the draft picks. There's nothing they can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're a week past the draft. The players are on the roster. They're currently negotiating their contracts. Nothing's changing, right? There's nothing you can do as a journalist, as someone that works in media, or as a fan about what the team did. They made the picks they made. You have to accept it. You have to move forward, and you have to try and put the puzzle together, okay? Like you said, you don't want to put Jahmyr Gibbs in a box so it doesn't make taking him at 12 look so obnoxious, so egregious. Well, he's still a running back, and he's still going to carry the ball. And if he is Deebo Samuel or Alvin Kamara or anything relatively close to that, are you going to be happy with the player? Yeah. But again, he's got to impact winning. And impact winning doesn't just need to be production. It could be the problems he causes teams that allows others to have success.
Right.
There's different levels to this game. So, yes, a healthy Swift was a problem last year. The problem is he's never healthy. You bring in a Jahmyr Gibbs, you're hoping to have that explosive backfield for 17 games next year? Good. You're looking to build off of what you have with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and now you're adding Sam Laporta? Good. No problem. But we're in the world of you have to move on. There's no point in dragging your feet through the mud or moping around or being upset. Even if they miss on the player, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing Flannel, Jeff, or anybody can do about the draft picks. They are what they are.
Right.
So, I mean, people don't have a choice. They have to move on. They have to. They have to accept it because they support the team. And the last thing they're going to want to do is sit there and say, I hope Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't do well. No one's going to fucking say that.
I guess it's not about that, because you're right. Lions fans are, of course, going to root for the players, but I guess it's more of just trying to understand why. I think people just look at picks, and even if they listen to Brad Holmes talk, I'll still hear and I'll still see on social media the same repeated things, as in, it's the same criticisms, even though Brad and many others have tried to explain it and tried to, like, even for me, yes, I was shocked Jahmyr was taken at 12. But as time went on, I've tried to make it make sense. I think there's still fans out there that are unwilling to even try to make it make sense.
Lions
it's just like, hey,
fans.
exactly. So that's my point, is it's not about questioning Brad Holmes. I think you're allowed to do that. I think you need to do that at times. You can't just put Brad on a pedestal at all times. But to not even be willing to try to understand why, I guess, is the main problem.
Yeah,
and
understanding why, I'm on board with.
Yes.
You can try to justify it. You can make it make sense. You can say, hey, Brad Holmes has come out and said 1, 2, and 3, and it's made me feel a lot better. That's fine. I have no problem with that at all.
Now, if you're
it's a reasonable thing to do.
And if you're still skeptical, that's fair. Like, even for me, Jahmyr Gibbs, like you said, and we talked about, he's got to go out and be productive. Like, I'm not going to sit here and if Jahmyr comes out and he's mid this year, of course I'm going to have a problem with it. Jack Campbell, he's got to go out and be productive. He's a first-round pick. He's the 18th overall pick. So I think it's fair to have expectations. We do this with players. You know, if you take them, for example, you take a corner, better be damn elite, especially top 10. So we're very consistent with that.
Nothing's changed.
Yes, nothing's changed.
Aiden Hutchinson taken at number 2 overall.
Yes.
All I had to hear was, if he's Chris Long and he has 80 career sacks, he's a bust. Fucking idiots. You know, so like we do this every year. It's fine. It's just I think this year came more of a shock. And look, it's easy to say hindsight, but when they addressed the secondary the way they did, clearly they wanted Devon Witherspoon. That was correct. But when he was taken at 5, I think all hell broke loose. They had contingency plans, obviously. They were ready for it.
Right.
But my goodness.
And even me with Jalen Carter, and Sam, I think you would agree with this as well. If Jalen Carter, despite, and I understand why the Lions, especially with the JMO situation, and maybe they even have Jalen Carter completely off their draft board, but I'm still going to watch Jalen in Philly. And if Jalen Carter turns out to be an elite defensive tackle, you're damn right I'm going to be frustrated. And I think you would agree with that, Sam Flannel, just because I understand why Jahmyr...
he won't, so it's not going to be a
all
problem.
right, we'll see. We'll see.
He won't.
Don't be so sure about that, especially in that situation. Not only will the Lions, I think, and this is... Even if the Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell pan out, even there might be some fear of missing out. What about the Seahawks? They needed a defensive lineman too, and they passed and got Devon Witherspoon. I think with this draft... Even more so than the other ones, there's an element of we obviously trust Brad Holmes. He gets a ton of leeway, deservedly so, but this better work. Because if it doesn't, he did some things that were a little bit more, I would say, unconventional, and especially when it comes to positional value in this draft. Do I think it'll work? Do I think they'll all be good players? Absolutely. But what if it doesn't? I don't even want to think about that, but there's a lot of pressure, I think, on these players to at least perform to a good level, or maybe even become stars. Because if they don't, the microscope will be on Brad Holmes, as it should be.
Yeah, I think it's fair to have expectations for players. I don't have an issue with that at all. Jahmyr and Jack got to go out and perform.
All right. When we get back, let's go around the NFL. If you haven't heard, Lamar Jackson wants to throw for 6,000 yards, and let
me guess. And I want to be a woman.
And I want the Detroit Red Wings to win the NHL draft lottery.
Well, that's fair,
right?
Yeah.
Both have the same chances of happening, 0. So we'll get to that next. We'll get to Saquon. You're not getting paid. Dexter Lawrence getting a contract. Isn't that funny on the eve of talking about Jahmyr Gibbs? All that and more coming up next. But before we do, Jeff, our good friends over at the Sports Marketing Agency.
The Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, go to SportsMA, thesportsma.com for more information.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, thanks for joining us. Check out everything that we have going on. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like. If you're listening to our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It's not that hard. 5 stars, please. And before we get into more Lions talk, since I came out of the break, I have a little question to ask Adam.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about the Tigers at all today?
Nope.
You're not going to talk about
Nope.
Verlander throwing 2 home runs?
Nope.
Erod.
Nope. Don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. They're 13-17. I don't give a fuck. They swept the Mets. I still don't give a fuck.
Okay, well,
Like, what?
It's
what?
I guess
Can we get 60, 70, 80 games into the year, and maybe they're 10 games over 500, and maybe I'll give them a chance? Their ballpark is still fucking shit. Old. Broken. Nobody wants to address that. I don't want to talk about the Tigers. Nobody wants to talk about the Tigers. Why would you want to? Why? Because your first overall pick is batting .221?
Okay.
That's what I want to talk about?
No.
Want to talk about Riley Green not being able to hit the fucking baseball this year either? What? Oh, Eduardo Rodriguez, man. He's pitching so well. Yeah, then you'll fucking trade him.
Yeah.
Trade him at the deadline. That's a fucking... I don't care.
They're still going to probably sell
I
the
don't
deadline.
care. I don't fucking care. They're not good. They're hot. They're not good. Moving on. Lamar Jackson wants to throw
That
for
went
6,000
exactly the way I
yards.
wanted it to, though. As much as you hate talking about them, you get fired up.
Because
Can't help it. Poke the bear.
love baseball. I like to think I'm one of the very few 29-year-olds living on this earth that like really love baseball. And Al Avila and Chris Ilitch have taken that from me. Okay? So I don't know when it's going to come back. I wish them the best of luck. And when they come back strong, I'll be there. But don't expect me to sit there 162 fucking games a year, knowing that they're probably going to lose 85 to 90 of them. And that ask me to talk about the Tigers. Kill myself.
Back to Lions.
Back to the NFL. Let's go around the NFL, actually. I want to get off the Lions for a little bit. I want to start with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson thinks he can throw for 6,000 yards. He's excited. He's got new weapons, new receivers. Oh, my God. It's going to get lit. We're going to throw to this guy. We're going to throw to that guy. But unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, maybe he didn't get the memo. In his 5 seasons in the NFL, he's averaged about 2,400 yards passing each year.
Did anybody tell Lamar Jackson that he didn't get Justin Jefferson, he got Odell Beckham? Did anybody tell him that?
Did anybody tell Lamar Jackson that to throw for like 6,000 yards,
6,000
you
yards,
have to average 352 passing yards a game? Now, to put that into context, Lamar Jackson averages and throws 174 yards per game. To put that even into more context, Patrick Mahomes, for his career as an NFL football player, leads the NFL all-time with just over 300 and a few change yards worth of passing yards per game. So if Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, can't throw for 6,000 with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce,
I think, well,
who the fuck are you, Mr. They call me a running back. They call me a running back, even though I run all the time and I average 800 yards a season since I joined the NFL. But I'm not a running back. I'm a quarterback.
Well,
6,000 yards?
6,000. And again, for him saying that.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
JFK was killed by one person.
Well,
yeah.
Those things are correlated.
Yeah, and the Tigers are winning the World Series this year, too. Since
Okay,
while
well,
we're
hold
at it.
on.
Since we're just throwing shit out there, right? Since we're just throwing shit and hoping it sticks.
And for Lamar Jackson, there's no way. I mean, this was... I think everybody...
Saddam Hussein was innocent.
I think everybody who heard this comment was like, okay, Lamar, I love it, but no, it's not happening. Just throw for 3,000. And
9/11 never happened.
And you know how I feel.
What are we just going to say shit now?
And you know how I feel about Lamar Jackson. I mean, me and you have went at it about Lamar. I'm much higher on Lamar than you are. I'm glad he got paid. I think it should have happened a while ago, but regardless, to say he was going to throw for 6,000 yards is clearly just that. I mean, no, I don't think anybody took that seriously. Like 6,000 yards with what receivers? Mark Andrews, you got Rashad Bateman, Duvernay, and Odell Beckham, and you're going to throw for 6,000 yards? Like Sam Flannel, talk to me.
No NFL quarterback ever has thrown for 6,000 yards in a season. That's just, I don't even know if anyone's ever had 5,500 in a season at this point. And Lamar Jackson, he's a complicated one because on one hand, he's obviously a former MVP, but He's never even thrown for 3,500 passing yards in a season. Not once. He threw for 3,000 yards, a grand total of once. And also the thing about Lamar Jackson, which nobody wants to talk about, and Adam, I actually think you'll 100% be on board with this. Lamar Jackson is a terrible playoff performer. Awful. He's won in his team's record is 1-3, and he's thrown 3 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. Did you know? A lot of people talk about how last year the Baltimore Ravens might have won that playoff game at Cincinnati if Lamar Jackson would have played. But I did a little bit of digging. Tyler Huntley's game last season at Cincinnati was better statistically than any playoff game Lamar Jackson ever played. The one time Lamar Jackson ever had more touchdowns than interceptions in a playoff game, he completed less than 50% of his passes and they lost. And Tyler Huntley gave you 17 of 29 for, I think, 225, 2 TDs, and an interception. So Lamar Jackson, with his limitations as a passer and his horrific playoff performances, he's damn fortunate that he got this deal. Good for him, but this idea that he was ever sort of persecuted or anything, I think, is a little bit crazy. Look a little deeper.
Just remember, the guy that averages 177 yards per game in the air is going to somehow throw for 352 yards a game in Baltimore, with Odell Beckham, who won't make it through the season, with a rookie at wide receiver. Congratulations, Lamar. Congratulations, Baltimore.
And I like Zay Flowers a lot, but there was no way he was serious. 6,000 yards. I mean, he's self-aware enough to know that. I mean, he hasn't even cleared 4,000 yet. So can we just get there?
He hasn't even
first?
cleared 3,500
So
yet.
let's just get to 3,500 first.
Is he self-aware, though, Jeff? Because why would you say something so insane?
Because he perceives, and it's true, he believes that everybody in media, which I would say majority, not all, believe he's a running back playing quarterback.
Which he's not.
And he is.
Probably the best running quarterback ever.
And I know he doesn't like that. But he's a running quarterback before a throwing quarterback.
Which I guess that's fair.
And when you ask me if I'm building a team, who would I rather have? Lamar Jackson or guys like middle-of-the-pack guys that haven't proven themselves yet? I won't even say Lawrence or Herbert because you probably, like me, think they're really talented.
Right.
Let's go with a Jared Goff. Right? I got to deal with a quarterback who I may not even have for a decade. Or would I take the guy that has played almost a decade in the NFL now? Oh, but I have to be nice to Lamar because he's an MVP. I forgot. But he's never thrown for 3,500 yards, let alone 4,000 yards. And every year he's thrown more interceptions per attempt. And it's only gotten worse. So he's now more turnover prone and injury prone. He's going to throw 6,000 yards.
And somehow he still has a 3-to-1 touchdown ratio. Touchdown interception ratio. So the yards are
not bad for a running back.
No, not at all for a running back. I mean, a 3-to-1 touchdown ratio is not bad. And again, the passing yards thing, I completely agree. I mean, the highest passing yards he's ever had in a season is 3,100. So clearly that's something that Lamar's going to have to keep. Not even just staying healthy. The last 2 seasons, he's only played in 12 games. So that's probably number one for Lamar, just stay healthy. But again, I hate the idea and the disrespect Lamar gets calling him a running back. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
A quarterback that, typically likes to take off
quarterback that averages
first.
800 yards rushing a year.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
and averages
but to say he's a running back.
And averages 2,400 yards passing a year.
But to say he's a running back with
again, forget
100...
the MVP, forget Lamar Jackson's name. If I told you there's a quarterback in the NFL who throws for 2,400 yards a year, and runs for 800 yards a year on average, what would you tell me?
Can I flip a question on you?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
What if a quarterback who has a record of 45-16 has a touchdown interception ratio 101 to 38?
Tim Tebow won in the NFL. What does that mean?
I'm going off statistics.
Tim Tebow
You're going off passing yards. Let's switch it up. What about touchdown interception ratio? 101
if
to 38.
If you take out his MVP year,
okay, we'll go to the next
touchdown interception ratio is completely
We'll go to the
different.
next year. 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
And then go to the next year.
Excuse me. Okay, so we're gonna keep.
You're living in the past.
So
from
you're
4
gonna
years
take.
ago.
So
you're living in the past from 4 years ago.
All right.
And you're gonna sit here and tell me that Lamar Jackson is what I am getting and what I've been getting. When the truth is, I've been getting 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and then 16 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and the interceptions are more per attempt. He's getting hurt more now than ever. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
He's a good quarterback. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. That's fair. He's probably a top 10 quarterback. That's fair. But don't sit there and tell me that this guy is some gifted he's a running quarterback first. He's not a passing quarterback first. And when you get that, and you agree to that, then I don't have a problem with anything you can say about Lamar. You can say that he wins a lot of games. He does. He also has had a top 10 defense every year he's been in the NFL. He also has John Harbaugh as his head coach. But we don't say anything about that. It's okay. We totally dismiss his inability to throw the football on third down, his inability to throw in meaningful games. It's okay because he's flashy. He's fun. Why?
I just, for me personally, I just like guys that win games. That's what I prefer.
Cade McNamara won games. What does that mean?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
What does that mean?
Are you kidding me? How about this? Who has a more impact on winning? Bring that up. Cade McNamara? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, those top 10 defenses don't matter.
Oh, yeah, of course. And his stacked offenses do, right?
Giving
the
up
Ravens
14 points a game.
Offenses.
Giving up 14 points a game must be nice. Must be nice.
The chat's going back and forth on who we would rather have with the Lions, Lamar or Goff.
And by the way, I never, ever, ever, ever said bring Lamar Jackson to Detroit. Never said that. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson, because if we're not going to bring up past years, don't bring up Jared Goff's years in L.A. when he played well. Don't do it. Because you can't bring up past years. So what are we doing here?
No.
I think it
you
matters.
See the difference? You see the difference?
I think it matters.
You're bringing up an MVP season that I've never seen anything remotely close to since. And he's now getting injured. He's throwing for fewer yards a year, fewer touchdowns a year, and now throwing more interceptions.
Adam, the following year, he threw 10 less touchdowns and still had a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. So what are you talking about? You never see anything at 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, followed it up with 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he still missed the game.
For a quarterback that attempted 40 less passes, for a quarterback that and only once in his career has thrown for more than 400 times in a year, this is not a quarterback. This is different. This is a dynamic quarterback who is a run-first player, and that's why you pay him. Because when he runs, he's unfucking believable, and he'll go out and give you 700, 1,200, 1,000, 700, and 700 yards rushing on 6 yards an attempt. That's what makes Lamar special.
I'm not arguing that. But I just hate the disrespect that he's a running back.
It's not. It's the truth. It's the truth.
Okay.
Justin Fields. What's Justin Fields to you? A running quarterback? Is Justin Fields a running quarterback or a passing quarterback?
No. Listen.
Again, you're only going to get offended because one's an MVP and one isn't.
No. If you're talking about what they can do on the ground with their legs, of course they're similar. But that's where it stops. That's where it stops. What they can do in terms of being dynamic, I agree. But that's the end of the argument.
Why?
Because Justin Fields just threw more touchdowns and interceptions his second year.
Justin
for the
Fields,
first time.
in his second year, full year as a starter, threw for Lamar Jackson's career average in passing yards, threw 17 touchdowns, which is what Lamar did 2 years ago, and last year he didn't throw, obviously, 17 because he was injured, and he had 11 interceptions. Do the interceptions need to go down? Sure, but he was just shy of 61% completion percentage as a passer. Again, one's an MVP, and we're not allowed to say anything bad about him, even though he'll never win or accomplish anything because he's a limited passer. But again, you call him a running back, and everybody loses their fucking shit. Even though he carries the ball almost 12 times a game. And don't compare him to Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts runs the ball, but fucking throws for over 500 attempts in a year and throws for over 4,000 yards. Something Lamar hasn't done and Fields hasn't done, and that's why I fucking can't stand them as quarterbacks.
Okay. We agree to disagree.
I guess.
You can call Lamar a running back all you want. I think that's ridiculous.
I guess.
He's a quarterback, a dynamic quarterback who utilizes his legs because, yes, he's dynamic.
Is he primarily a runner or a passer?
He
Answer
runs.
that.
Just
primarily.
Of course he's taking off more often. Of course. Doesn't mean he can't pass the ball.
So in his MVP year, he threw the ball 400 times.
Yes.
He ran the ball almost 200 times. He's a primary runner. He runs the ball. That's what he's gifted at.
But
he's not a gifted passer.
But you're completely eliminating. You're acting like Lamar and Justin Fields are the same statistically passing the football.
I'm not. I'm telling you, last year, Justin Fields, who's a shit quarterback, I agree, threw for Lamar Jackson's career average in terms of passing yards and through what Lamar Jackson has done the last 2 years in terms of touchdowns and interceptions. But we don't say anything. Well, Justin Fields is fucking garbage.
Well, Lamar...
I don't like Justin Fields, to be honest. But you're going to throw him away because one's an MVP quarterback. But for the last 2 years, he's been putting up Justin Fields numbers.
I mean, even last year in 12 games, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, he missed 5 games. So, you're acting like the guy is complete garbage.
I'm not saying he's garbage.
You said he's top 10, but then you'll say he's a running back. Well, how can you be a top 10 quarterback if you're a running back? Please explain that to me. And you have a 45-16 record in the regular season. So
again, I gave you all the reasons. I don't think you listened. He has
no,
top
I'm
10
listening.
defense. He has one of the 5 best coaches in the NFL. And you know what? They smartly
right.
built a team around him, and he's very good at what he does, but he's a primary runner. He's not a pass-first quarterback. The one thing you can't say about Jalen Hurts now is that he's a primary runner. He's grown year after year after year in the NFL throwing the football, and I was wrong about Jalen Hurts, and now he's an exceptional passer.
You know what's funny about that? Jalen Hurts, even though he's an exceptional passer, and you talk about passing attempts, which fair, I'll give you that, still hasn't thrown for as many touchdowns as Lamar Jackson in his best 2 seasons. So, all right, Jalen Hurts, I get the playoff success, but 36 touchdowns, 26 touchdowns, Jalen Hurts hasn't even cleared it yet. So let's slow down. Can we slow down? It has nothing to do with MVP. It's just their careers in totality.
Okay, so we're going to discount the 13 rushing touchdowns that Jalen Hurts had this past year. Wait.
So rushing matters.
Wait. No,
okay,
it doesn't.
go on.
No.
Go on.
But you're going to discredit it.
Okay.
And Lamar Jackson, his MVP year, I think only ran it into the house, 4 or 5 times? So we're not off total touchdowns here.
Oh, so now...
And let's be honest.
But your guys...
What's the difference
Okay, go on.
between Lamar Jackson's 1-2-yard touchdowns, and if you look them up, it's a majority of his touchdowns at the goal line that are run RPO, play action, that he just tosses to a fullback or a tight end. What's the difference between that as a touchdown pass and a quarterback sneak up the middle? They're both gimmies. What are we discrediting here, please? Is Lamar Jackson the passer that Jalen Hurts is?
Jalen Hurts is developed every single year. I mean, he's the best quarterback
and Lamar's
in the NFC.
regressed the last 3 years.
Yeah, well, he's just been hurt.
Oh.
Last season, like I said, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You could tell the Ravens missed Lamar, hence why they paid him. So you can think he's a running back, but I'm going to trust the Ravens organization in John Harbaugh because clearly they didn't want Lamar to go. They paid him. So call him a running back all you want. That's fair. But that's your argument. I'm not doing that. He's not a running back.
That's fair.
That's ridiculous.
Money.
That's great. We'll take a break. When we get back, should the Pistons move on from should the Pistons move after and look to hire Mike Budenholzer? Does that change their hiring process, who they're going to be interviewing? We didn't get to the Saquon Barkley stuff, but oh well, what are you going to do? We'll do that when we come back. But before we go, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8. Walk in anytime for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win not one but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you, one for your buddy, one for your wife. I don't give a shit who it is. Go to Lady Jane's 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show, live, woodwardsports.com as always. Jeff, Mike Budenholzer fired by the Milwaukee Bucks. Really odd timing. I mean, lost his brother, unfortunately, during the series.
Yep.
Should the Pistons look into Mike? Is this a good fit for Detroit, or are you still of the mind of a Collins, a Charles Lee, some of these guys, some of the names that have been thrown out there over the last few months?
So, I wouldn't hate it if Mike Budenholzer was the next head coach of the Pistons. I think you actually have to take a look at him. I mean, what he's done. And it's not just with Mike Budenholzer, too. The ESPN tweeted this out yesterday, which is a crazy stat. Last 4 NBA champions, 3 no longer with those teams. Mike Budenholzer, Frank Vogel, and Nick Nurse all fired and or let go from their respective teams. So Budenholzer is somebody that, again, I'm not a huge fan of. You watch that Bucks series with Miami. I mean, even down the stretch in Game 5, for example, Brook Lopez, he was on the bench for too long. That was obvious. Giannis came out after the game in the post-game press conference and said, I wish I could have guarded Jimmy Butler. I wanted to guard Jimmy Butler. So that's a red flag, number 2. And then number 3, in overtime, Budenholzer didn't use a single timeout. Like, there's a lot of things, and this has been Budenholzer's MO his whole career. Typically in the regular season, they have great regular seasons, and then they melt down in the playoffs. The Bucks have been the exception. They went on the championship run the following year without Chris Middleton. They took the Celtics to 7 games, but for the most part, Budenholzer's career, a lot of playoff losses. So again, at least in my opinion, what I've always wanted the Pistons to do is to go pursue a younger coach, somebody that is respected. Teams are coming after, like Charles Lee, for example, which now that Budenholzer's gone, you'd assume that Charles Lee will be taking that job, or they'll go after Nick Nurse, which would be a great hire if they want experience. But Charles Lee is still my number 1. Again, for just the age and how he works, how he'd fit with this age demographic. He's well-spoken. He's been Budenholzer's a top assistant throughout his entire tenure at both Atlanta and with the Bucks. He just got promoted last season to associate head coach. I love Charles Lee, and I think there's other good candidates as well. But you can't deny that Budenholzer, in terms of the total resume, I mean, maybe besides Nick Nurse right now, has a great resume. Like he does. So the Pistons are going to have to look at him. But in my opinion, I don't think it's a sexy hire. I think it's a hire that a lot of people would just look at and go, all right. But the Pistons did the same thing with Dwayne Casey. The only difference is Dwayne Casey didn't win a championship. Dwayne Casey was fired after winning Coach of the Year. He won Coach of the Year and was let go by the Raptors, brought to the Pistons. Everybody rejoiced and said, we got the Coach of the Year. And then years later, now everybody wants his head off. So beware with Budenholzer. That's all I'm saying. I know the resume is impressive, but watch Pistons fans. You get Budenholzer in this building, give it 15 games.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on.
And they're already going to be calling for his job.
I'm going to pass on Nick Nurse. I'm totally against the idea of a Nick Nurse. I'm old enough to remember the Atlanta Hawks with Austin Day, Elton Brandon, his 15th year in the NBA. Al Horford, a young Dennis Schroeder, winning 60 games with Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta. I mean, it didn't make sense, but they did. You're looking for a coach that's going to come in and establish an identity on offense and defense. Mike Budenholzer does that. If you want to go with his assistant or you want to go anywhere else in the NBA, be my guest, but that is someone you did not expect going into this process to become available. I don't think anybody expected Budenholzer to become available. And yeah, I think you have to consider it. This is a guy that's worked with young talent before. This is a guy that's walked into situations that were undeveloped and raw and turned them into good situations. Mm-hmm. Now, did the Atlanta tenure for Budenholzer end the greatest? No. Did his Milwaukee start and rise to becoming a champion look really good? Yeah. And this past first-round exit is not the greatest look for him, but I'm sorry. He's one of the 7 best coaches in the NBA the past 5 years.
And he just won Coach of the Year a couple years ago. So, but again, watch out for the Coach of the Year thing, because Dwayne Casey won it.
That doesn't count. Dwayne Casey
No, it does, because people forget Dwayne Casey with the Toronto Raptors. The only thing that was stopping Dwayne Casey and the Raptors, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sam,
was LeBron James.
Was the kid
was
from
that
Akron.
The excuse? Yeah.
So, like, let's be honest here. Multiple Eastern Conference Finals
only play
appearances.
good in the regular season and then choke in the playoffs.
No, they choke against LeBron.
Oh, yeah.
Correct? Am I wrong, Sam?
No, they would lose a series. You're not wrong. They would lose to Cleveland
every year,
but they wouldn't play like a number 1 seed should have played.
Well, unfortunately,
they never played up to their level that they played in the regular season. That was always the knock on Toronto. They would win 55, 58 games. They would look great, the number 1 seed, and it didn't matter, and LeBron didn't care because come playoff time, the coach and the players would all choke. And they did. But every single series.
Regardless.
You don't get swept as a 1 seed.
Well, the guy that you're talking about that they should look at just did. Gentleman's sweep. Lost to Miami Heat. So
A gentleman's sweep.
4-1.
Excuse
Okay,
me.
I'll give you one.
Excuse me.
But regardless, again,
Excuse
with Mike
me.
Boone,
Brother passing away,
Oh,
a proven NBA champion. He's won before, something Dwayne Casey can never say he's done. But yeah, okay. It's two totally different
Frank
situations.
Vogel's won before. You want Frank Vogel?
Frank Vogel.
You want
the
Frank
head coach.
Vogel?
Frank Vogel in Indiana was a very good head coach.
Okay, so
I
Frank
don't want
Vogel's
him.
on your list.
No, I don't want
Gotcha.
him.
Okay.
But no, that's not
so
my
winning,
argument,
just
though.
saying he won before.
He actually won, though.
Yes.
There's a huge difference between Dwayne Casey coming from Toronto to Detroit and Mike Budenholzer coming off a disappointing series after being a champion not even 2 years ago. There's a big difference.
Okay, but
and I've seen him win in Atlanta and in Milwaukee.
Speaking of Dwayne Casey in the postseason, like you just pointed out, what did exactly Budenholzer win in Atlanta? Explain to me.
Nothing.
There you go. So don't bring up the Raptors with Dwayne Casey. Well, they choke in the playoffs. If I'm correct, Sam, here, you could butt in. Atlanta every year had a top seed in the East. What happened to the postseason? Enlighten me.
Well, in 2015, they had the number 1 seed, 60 wins. But that was kind of a fluke team with Al Horford and Jeff Teague and Kyle Korver and all them. And they did get swept.
Oh, they did.
But I will say this. You got to stop blindly defending Dwayne Casey, man. You and Neil Rule are becoming a little bit insufferable in that. And you know why? Because there's some context. I don't want to hear Dwayne Casey and Mike Budenholzer's name in the same sentence. I know you're going to be disappointed. But in that 2018, that was the year where Toronto had the number 1 seed, where the previous couple of years they did not have home court advantage and they took the Cavs to 6. And this was the Cavs team that had lost Kyrie Irving. And the Cavaliers swept them, the number 1 seed. This was the year for Toronto to finally get over the hump. Dwayne Casey, coach of the year. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry playing the best basketball of their lives. They got swept. With Mike Budenholzer, I would consider it if I'm the Pistons. I wouldn't mind it at all because let's give some of these recent Mike Budenholzer Milwaukee Bucks playoff failures some context. Last year, no Chris Middleton, they took the Boston Celtics to 7. This year, I will die on the hill that if Giannis Antetokounmpo does not get hurt, the Milwaukee Bucks, they're still playing right now. That matters. He's one of the best players in the world. He goes down for a couple games. He misses most of a third. And then they lose. I don't think Mike Budenholzer should have got fired. And the Pistons are not going to get Charles Lee because Charles Lee, if I'm Charles Lee, I want to coach the Milwaukee Bucks. I want to coach one of the best teams in the NBA. Mike Budenholzer would not be a bad choice at all for the Detroit Pistons.
So, well, number one, I want to say defending Dwayne Casey, like there's a certain extent. I'm not blindly defending Dwayne Casey. I think what happens is people get lost in a lot of recency bias and how Dwayne's tenure ended with the Pistons, and they like to discredit everything Dwayne's done in his coaching career, which is just simply false. Like you can bring up that, but I can bring up, even with Giannis missing those 2 games, that is a reason you lose to the Miami Heat. Like, the Miami Heat.
The same Miami Heat that are going to beat the Knicks, and they're going to advance to the conference finals.
Well, Eric Spoelstra.
Coached by Eric Spoelstra, who's arguably the second best coach in the NBA, only behind Steve Kerr. And you could argue he's actually the best coach in the NBA. You could argue Spoel is the best coach in the NBA.
You know what's funny, too? You know what's funny? I don't even defend Dwayne on this level, but the fact that I get criticized for defending Dwayne, but you're going to sit here and try and explain to me why it's okay they got swept, gentleman sweep, by the Miami Heat, who
I didn't
barely
say it's
got
okay.
into the playoffs.
I said he had a disappointing series, and I gave you what happened during the series. Giannis missed 2 games, his brother died in the middle of the series, and they lost to Eric fucking Spoelstra and the Miami Heat.
They lost to Eric Spoelstra.
It's not that it's okay. I'm telling you what happened.
Right.
So there's one bad series where they lost to an 8 seed. That series totally diminishes everything Budenholzer has done in his 12 year career in the NBA, where he's been an NBA champion and a multiple 1 seed in the Eastern Conference with Atlanta and Milwaukee. Please.
I love this, by the way, because how you're defending Mike right now.
Yeah.
I like to correct Dwayne, and I get called a simp. But you can sit here and make excuses for Mike.
The dude was just fired, and I asked you a very simple question. Should they pursue Mike Budenholzer? And then you went on to slander the guy for losing with a team that was missing their best player.
You know what's funny? I get called out for not listening, but you didn't even listen to the first part of my. I just said for 5 minutes why Mike Budenholzer would actually be a fine option. They have to interview him. So
then you said, but look at Dwayne Casey. Watch out for Coach of the Years. Look at what happened.
Guys who like to bring up resumes. Dwayne had a pretty good resume in terms of win-loss record. Didn't have a championship.
He didn't have a resume that Mike Budenholzer had.
Because he
never even got to a conference final.
Are you sure?
With Toronto, maybe conference semifinals at most. Did they get to a conference final for 1 year?
I think they went to 1.
I don't believe Toronto ever got to the final.
They did.
Did they?
They did. So
they met LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavs in the conference finals. I don't recall. at all.
But regardless, the point is, I'm not even trying to, it's funny, this conversation went to Dwayne Casey. I'm not even trying to do that. What I'm trying to say is beware of when you bring up a guy like Budenholzer, there's a reason the Bucks fired him. Like, there's a reason. And Charles Lee, if he gets the job, there you go. And I would agree. I think Charles Lee's the best candidate. But let's not act like Mike Budenholzer is just going to fall right into our hands and he's going to take us to the promised land. Like,
no, that's not what anybody's saying.
Because even coaches, like the point I brought up about ESPN, even coaches that have won are being fired. So just saying, well, the guy has a championship is...
But that's not my argument to hire him.
What's your argument then? Him choking in the playoffs through Atlanta? And choking in the playoffs besides 1 year with Giannis?
Oh, my goodness.
Like, what are we doing? You bring up one run. They won a championship one time, impressive year. But besides that, what do you got? You got nothing.
Goodness.
You got nothing. There's no substance in your argument besides 1 year in a championship run. Sam, do you got anything?
I mean, Dwayne Casey also won 80 total games in his last 4 seasons combined as a Detroit Pistons head coach. I'm just saying. I mean, Mike Budenholzer, I gave you...
But that was with the Pistons. I'm talking about Mike Budenholzer. We got to go off the resume before.
Here, okay, you want to talk about resume?
Let's go.
Here, I'll talk about resume. Mike Budenholzer, for the first time in his career as a Milwaukee Buck head coach, was eliminated in the first round. Mike Budenholzer, the same Mike Budenholzer, lost in 7 games in Atlanta in 2014 in the first round. Won in the got to the conference final in 2015, got swept, then got through the first round, then got swept. After a 4-2 win, they got swept the next series, and then got eliminated finally his last year, 2-4. Then he went to the Bucks, won playoff series his first year, his second year, won 2 his first year, won his second year, won the championship his third year, was a Game 7 away from getting to the conference final last year, and finally this year, yes, did lose to the Miami Heat in 5 games. But you're talking about a guy that has a 60% career win rate, has done a phenomenal job, has actually advanced in the playoffs, has won big-time playoff series, always a champion, and he lost his best player, literally arguably one of the 3 best players in all of basketball for 2 games. And we have to be wary of Mike Budenholzer. I don't get it. I don't. I think there's so much, a huge level difference between a guy like Budenholzer and when he became available compared to when Casey became available. Casey became available because of sheer disappointment during his tenure in Toronto for never delivering. Budenholzer delivered. Budenholzer delivered.
In Atlanta? That's why he was available, right?
I'm saying in fucking Milwaukee.
But
listen, why is he available?
No, but listen, when Dwayne and Budenholzer, they were both available at relevant times, similar times. One went to the Bucks with Giannis in that championship team, what they built, and one went to the Pistons, who, by the way, in case you guys don't know, very different situations. Not trying to defend Dwayne, but again, I'm just putting context in the situation.
He walked into a team that was a playoff team.
Absolutely, with Giannis in
No,
company.
I'm talking about Casey. They were a playoff team year 1.
Oh my God,
were they not?
They were a playoff team, maybe a 1 win in a series in the first round playoff team. Like they weren't anything serious.
You guys completely flipped seats there.
So,
like, Jeff, you were more aggressive than Adam ever was.
But it's just frustrating because the whole point I'm trying to make is just because a coach has a championship does not mean he is automatically elite. Because again,
12 years in the NBA, winning 60% of your games means nothing.
Okay. Well, context matters. I would love to see whoever the next coach.
Context doesn't matter when Giannis misses 2 games and they lose to the Miami Heat. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be fired. I was shocked that they fired him. I did not expect that at all. The first I heard of it was on the Colin Cowherd show on Tuesday, where that was a circulating rumor in the NBA, and it was shocking. Maybe they need a new voice. Maybe they want to promote the assistant. I don't care what they want to do. All I know is that the coach is a proven winning coach. And should the Pistons hire him? Have at it. I don't care. I actually don't. But to compare Dwayne Casey to a career
right over your head.
I can't do it.
This entire conversation just went right over
because
everybody's
you're bringing up Casey and his failures and trying to justify Budenholzer's failures and make it seem like it's the same when it's not. It just isn't. Budenholzer's team played good defense. They moved the ball. Something Dwayne Casey teams you could never ever say in his time here in Detroit that they ever did. You're looking for a coach to come in and build an identity, no? You're looking for a guy to walk in and put his arm around Cade, Ivy, Duren. That's your young core of the future. And you're looking to show them how to play the game of basketball the right way so you can build a winning contender in the next 2 years. And you can get to a conference final. You can get to the conference semifinal, for God's sake. Get out of the first round. Not just be a 7 seed that gets swept or a gentleman's sweep. So, yeah, you need a coach that can build an identity. Budenholzer has done it.
Okay. that sounds great. But let me explain to you something, okay? Budenholzer, to tell me that you're going to go from the Milwaukee Bucks and what they have with Giannis in a team that's ready to win now, and you're going to hire Budenholzer with the Pistons right now and expect Budenholzer to take this team somewhere right away? Like, this
I didn't say that.
But, okay. But you're saying for
But I think they're a playoff team in his second year easily.
And this is the problem I have, too. And again, I like Budenholzer. This is nothing. Again, I think the argument's going over everybody's head right now. Budenholzer, to me, is fine. If they want to hire Budenholzer, I would not be mad at it. But what I'm saying is, for the people that are saying, oh, how can you not want to hire Budenholzer? Because, again, even though I'm okay with hiring him, I still want Charles Lee over Budenholzer. I do. Because I want an assistant. I want someone in the same about 30s to 40s, somebody that can relate to these players, and somebody that, again, has a ton of upside as a head coach. I know what Budenholzer is. I have a huge sample size of it. Maybe that's what you prefer. But for me personally, I still have Charles Lee. I would prefer Charles Lee. But if Mike Budenholzer...
I'm going to give you it. You're right. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I would prefer 60% win rate in a 7-year span.
You know what's funny? I would have loved to hear your opinion when Dwayne was hired, because you can bring up, well, he has a 60%
you want the honest opinion?
Win percentage
in
Toronto.
You want me to tell you my honest opinion of Dwayne Casey?
Okay.
No, I'll give it to you now.
Because now it's easy to say it now because he has 4 years in Detroit. But go on.
Me being completely honest.
Go on.
I hated the hire for one reason. Not because of Dwayne. Dwayne, I thought, was wrongly fired by Toronto. Reigning coach of the year. The Kawhi thing is what took them over the top. It wasn't really Nick Nurse. But when Dwayne Casey was hired, this team should have rebuilt from day one. And they extended Drummond, Reggie Jackson, Blake Griffin, that whole saga. They wasted the first 3 years of his tenure in Detroit. And then when they went into a rebuild, he's not the coach for it. He lost. He knew how to lose. Congratulations, Dwayne. But he wasn't building an offensive identity. He didn't teach this team how to play any lick of defense in the time he's been here. That's my problem with Casey. So you want the Adham opinion on when he left Toronto? I was shocked. When he came to Detroit, it was kind of bittersweet, because the team wasn't good enough, and I didn't want to be an 8 seed that would get gentlemen swept in the first round. You might as well burn the whole shit and rebuild it. And they waited 3 years to do it. And it was 3 years too late. And now here we are, year 6, year 7 of a fucking rebuild.
All I'm saying, the whole point of this conversation is, with Budenholzer, just beware with certain coaches. Sometimes it's not as easy as, oh, well, look at his resume, it's impressive. There's a reason he was fired. For example, Frank Vogel had some good years with the Lakers, had good years in Indiana. He's still jobless. So just relax. Troy Weaver, this can be a lengthy process, and we'll see what happens with Charles Lee, because I think he's taking that job.
Mailbag. We'll take a break.
I heard
when we get back.
Budenholzer more than I ever thought I was going to hear in my life.
I did not expect that. We didn't even get to something else I wanted to talk about.
Because again, this is the biggest decision Troy has to make besides drafting Cade. So if Budenholzer's your guy, then go ahead. But I don't want to hear you bitch in a year.
All right, well, Gabby,
we're going to mailbag now.
Tell everybody at home about our good friends over at Cintron.
Yeah, Cintron is the official energy drink of the Detroit Red Wings, and right now you can try the 6-pack, the variety pack, try all the flavors that they have at drinkcintron.com/Woodward for just $15 and free shipping. And if you don't believe me that I love Cintron, you know Braylon loves it. He loves a cranberry. My favorite is the classic. drinkcintron.com/Woodward.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
It's a great day to get some Cintron in your life. Okay. There it is. Cintron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Cintron World, baby. Cintron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CintronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
At Alta, uptime matter. Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, Alta Rent has you covered. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA today.
All right, mailbag. We'll start with Jesse. Gabby, I'm going to ask you first. What's everybody's plan this weekend? What do you got going on, Gabby? You going to Utah? Santa Monica? Where are you going? You're Mrs. Worldwide over here.
Staying here this weekend, traveling next weekend, but staying here this weekend and watching the Kentucky Derby.
You're such a
drinking
loser.
mint julep.
Is your dad going to be there at least watching it with you?
Of course.
Oh, all right.
We go to
I can't knock you.
we go to a big Kentucky Derby party
Of course.
every year, so there'll be lots of flowers, lots of big hats, and lots of mint juleps.
Sadly, that doesn't surprise me. Jeff, what do you got going on this weekend outside of the UFC?
That's about it, my guy. Not too much this weekend. The gym, the UFC, and watching some playoffs. Not a very complicated weekend, but you would say that I have a ton of stuff planned, and you're going to lie to people about it. So, no, I'm not doing anything.
I wasn't going there this week.
I'm not going out.
I wasn't going to do it to you.
I'm not doing anything.
Nope. Flannel, what do you got going on this weekend?
Well, my wife is a big Cinco de Mayo person, so tonight's kind of a big night in the Flannel household, and other than
look
that,
at you.
I am
You're
not
gonna make
quite
a baby
sure.
tonight?
No.
Oh.
The act might occur, but we take the necessary precautions.
Might occur. That was the most political. You answered that so politically.
You answered that very well. I wasn't
The
expecting
act
that.
may or
Flannel.
may not occur. I cannot confirm or deny it.
What's your favorite?
That's fair.
What's your favorite type of margarita?
You know what? I'm not a margarita person. My wife is, but like I don't like tequila very much. So to me, they act like it's some sort of alcoholic Slurpee, and I don't like it. Am I wrong for that? Not a margarita person.
You just haven't had the right one.
Okay, well that's fair. Maybe I'll try one tonight. We'll see.
No, I don't.
Flannel, you need to go drinking with me one day, buddy. I think you and I drink alike.
Dude, I would
I'm a
love
straight drinker. I don't like any of the fancy mix my shit. I'm a straight drinker.
Jeff, what's
Maybe
your
that's
favorite
why I have
type of
anger issues.
margarita?
Who knows?
I don't like margaritas either.
Adam?
If I'm being real.
I've never had a margarita in my life,
Yeah,
and
I'm
whenever
not-
my wife, by the way, when we go to like any vacation or beach and she'll
Yeah.
get one,
Yeah.
I just look at her, and then everybody, because perception matters. They see the woman sitting there with a margarita enjoying her time, and then they see my angry ass drinking fucking liquor. Like, oh, this guy's fucked up. He probably beats his wife. So it's not the best look, but here we are. Anyways, moving on.
Alex Lee says Jeff's a Red Bull Tito's guy. Come on, we know this. See, Alex Lee, my guy. He knows.
Are you?
Cintron
Yeah.
Tito's kind of guy.
Yeah, Citron and Tito's, baby. You get the energy.
Nice cover up.
You get the energy as well.
Oh, God. All right. Nothing like a good old margarita, says Corey. Mailbag Jeff, why are there so many divas in the NBA?
That's a great question. Well, a lot of them are entitled. I mean, it is what it is. Honestly, if you talk about all the sports leagues, the NBA is really essentially
Player dominant.
Yes. Players controlled, and they have a ton of leverage, and you know that. Lucas says Jeff drinks wine at the club. No, I do not. Listen,
And a Chardonnay.
I do like wine because that's what it is. What it is. It's my heritage. I don't mind wine, but not at the club. That's ridiculous.
All right, which rookie will have the biggest impact this year for the Lions, and who will have the longest career here of the rookies? Okay, I'll go Jack Campbell's going to have the most impact day one. I think he's a day one starter. He'll be right alongside Alex Anzalone. That, to me, is a layup. Longest career, I will also say Jack Campbell. I think Jack Campbell is your foundational player of this draft. This is a 10, 12-year guy that's going to be a centerpiece for you, barring any catastrophic injuries.
Can I bring up a sleeper? I think it's the sleeper of this draft when it's all said and done. I think Broderick Martin could be something special.
I don't know how you guys call him a sleeper. You can't miss him. He's huge.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. You can't miss him. But in terms of somebody that I don't think gets a lot, doesn't get talked about enough, is Broderick Martin. What he could do immediately, but not even just immediately, but long term. They look at him more of as a project, but still what he brings with his size immediately. Just prevent 300 yards rushing in the first half against Carolina Panthers. That's all I ask. And I think he could do that.
All right.
He's a huge dude.
All right, fair enough. Lucas Klotz says he wants Andre Iguodala as the next Pistons head coach. What do you think of that?
As long as he's taking the last shot, Max Kellerman.
That's such a stupid take, man.
Sam, I know you love that one. By the percentages, Iguodala should be taking that last shot.
Shit.
And Steph Curry's never had a playoff buzzer beater. Just for the fact, that's just factual.
Nobody considers you to be the guy that takes the last shot when you're sitting there in the corner of the court waiting for the guy that does all the work to give you the ball. That's not how it works.
No. Curry's got to take that shot every time. I'm sorry. Even if he has low percentages, I mean, it's still him.
Low percentages that people will never tell you about.
No, they won't. That is fair, Sam.
But I'm the psychopath that researches
Sam
it
and
all.
Jeff, why are you both LeBron simps?
Because he is, in my opinion, the greatest NBA player of all time, and he just gets hated on so much for the most nonsensical reasons of all time. I have all the numbers. I know that the numbers are always going to be on my side, and you guys always bring up nonsense. So that's why I defend him to my death. It's not even about me liking LeBron. It's hating all the nonsensical, idiotic LeBron haters. That's more what it is.
All right, now I forgive you for the Dwayne Casey shot earlier, because I agree with you. I actually do. It's not more about just because people joke and they're like, Sam Flannel, get off of your knees on LeBron, or Jeff, get off of your knees on LeBron. It's just,
I love that Flannel Sam said numbers, because numbers are a big deal to me. Career points, obviously LeBron over MJ. Career assists, LeBron over MJ. Rebounds, LeBron over MJ. I think that's fair to say, right?
Not points. I know.
Yeah, LeBron has scored more points in his career than MJ. What do you mean?
I mean, in his career, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm talking career points.
Career, okay,
yeah,
absolutely.
Career everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and MJ has more MVPs, more NBA Finals MVPs, 10 scoring titles compared to LeBron's 1, 10 all first-team NBAs, all 9 all first-team defensive awards, 1 Defensive Player of the Year, and 14 All-Star games.
Well, and for the record, if you want to put Michael Jordan #1, I have no problem with it. I think it's kind of 1A and 1B for the record.
Yeah.
It's just the people who want to even put Steph Curry in LeBron James's stratosphere at this point. Those are the people.
I don't think anybody can put Steph in LeBron's.
I know that's why you're smart, Adam.
I don't
hold
think
on.
that's.
Let's not go that far. Because this is the same man that said when KD was on the Warriors, it was Steph versus LeBron.
Yeah,
It was KD versus LeBron.
It was Steph's team. Steph's team.
No, that's different.
And he was the most important player and the best player.
38, 8 and 5 on 56%
Yeah.
from the field and 47% from 3 in the 2017 finals. That never happened.
I know, because averaging 29, 8, and 9.4 is just shit.
The erasure
Steph did nothing.
of
He just
Kevin,
watched KD win him all the titles.
The erasure from Steph fans of Kevin Durant is one of the most shameful, dishonest things that the Steph Curry fans do.
They won't bring up that KD in both those finals led both finals in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, 50, 40, 90 from the field.
He didn't lead both in assists. He led the second title in assists.
Oh, the first one, sorry. He was right behind him in assists. He had like 10 or 15 less assists.
He had 6, and
but still, okay,
Steph Curry had 9.4 assists a
that's
game in
fair.
the first
I'll
one.
give you assists. I'll take rebounds, points, shooting percentages, blocks. We'll go on the whole list. I mean,
of course you will.
Come on.
Of course you will.
It's Steph's team. It's Steph's team. I'm not arguing that, but let's not act like KD wasn't the best player. Come on, guys.
I don't know, the guy that was the reigning 2-time MVP, but yeah, I know. What are you going to do?
my
We're out of here. You all enjoy your weekend. I hate Jeff, and Jeff hates me. And
Hug
it's
it
okay.
out. Hug it
What are you
out.
going to do?
You gotta hug it out.
We'll suck each other's dicks after the show. What are you going to do?
I
we're
was
out of
going
here
with just
till
a hug.
Monday. Hopefully Monday. You all have a great rest of your weekend. Be safe. Drink safely. Do whatever the hell you want. Flannel Sam, I hope you put 2 kids in your wife tonight. You all have a great rest of your day. JB, I don't know if you're married or have a girlfriend, but if you do, get her pregnant too. Fuck it. Why not? We're out of here.